Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for joining me again. Yes, we started this new thing last week and we are calling it Saturday Morning Conversations. And because it is too early for me to put on any makeup and all of that, and I'm just not into that, or for me to actually for me to be up and about. Well, it's not too early. I've been up since 2, but we want to have these conversations early Saturday morning, or well, it's 8 a.m. here in Mountain Standard Time in Alberta, Canada. We want to have these conversations on a Saturday morning, just between you and I, to put a thought in your head and get us thinking about a topic that is on everybody's mind. Some people don't want to talk about it. Some ignore it. Some believe that it's no big deal. So I've decided that I want to have these conversations with you, and I'm calling it Saturday Morning Conversations. I love having conversations. Usually I do my conversations with somebody, but this one, it's just you and I. So feel free to interact with me in the comments. I will be there responding to you. So today, I want to talk with you about something that I've been noticing a lot of. And I've been noticing as our platform on Facebook in particular grows, I'm seeing it more and more and more and more on our platform. And so today's conversation is about misogyny, the growing misogyny among men. Why men actually don't like women, it would seem. I want to hear your thoughts about that, but I'm going to share with you thoughts of other people, some stuff that I've come across in my doing a quick research on the topic. My name is Claudette Esterine Campbell, and I am the president and chairperson and president of the Daughters of Sheba Foundation. The Daughters of Sheba Foundation is a Canadian registered nonprofit organization dedicated, focused on women's issues. We are a woman focused, a woman centric. And when I say woman, I mean female, women, people born as female. And this is not to exclude anyone, just that we want to be clear about our focus as to who we are. So, the Daughters of Sheba Foundation is a woman focused organization based in Alberta, Canada, but it's a Canadian organization. And it's a nonprofit organization. We are not a charity. I have a need to keep saying that because we keep getting requests for charitable donations. Charity gives out tax receipts that allow the donors to reclaim it on their tax. We don't do that. We are not a charitable organization. We are a nonprofit organization. So what we do is we do stuff like this. We talk with you. We have conversations with you. We open your mind. We say that our aim is to be insightful, educational, empowering, and not entertaining necessarily, but sometimes we do have a joke here and there. We also do direct intervention on a small scale. And because this is a privately funded organization, anyone we assist, it's coming from our own pockets. So, philanthropy, in the truest sense of the word, with our widow's might. So, today, as I said, the topic is misogyny, and we want to talk about what's happening in our world, what we're seeing around us. It's really beginning to feel as if men actually don't like women. Did this start today? Did this start since the pandemic? No, it seemed to have escalated since the pandemic, but it didn't start with the pandemic. And I want to play for you a clip of a situation that took place some years ago, and I will come back to you right after I play that clip. Let me bring it up on my screen here, and I will play it for you, and we will talk about it when I come back.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. I will not.
It was just an electric feeling. I felt like I was there while history was being made. I knew that the speech is one that would survived the test of time.
If he wants to know what misogyny looks like in modern Australia, he doesn't need a motion in the House of Representatives. He needs a mirror.
When I first heard it, I really felt, thank God she's finally said something, because there had been a drumbeat. There had been this building of pressure for so long and no one was calling it out.
What if men are by physiology or temperament more adapted to exercise authority or to issue command?
I had just got elected myself as an independent to local government, and it was the first time ever. And I remember watching the news and seeing Julia in that blue jacket and pointing across the floor to the opposition leader. And I just thought, wow, I thought it was amazing.
I was in year 11, just came out of my physics class, and I remember a friend who had her phone on her during school hours, which she wasn't allowed to, came up to me and said, there's this incredible misogyny speech that's gone viral.
As they do the ironing. Thank you for that painting of women's roles in modern Australia.
This speech was part of a very political issue on a very political day.
I was offended too by the sexism, by the misogyny of the Leader of the Opposition catcalling across this table at me as I sit here as Prime Minister. If the Prime Minister wants to, politically speaking, make an honest woman of herself, something that would never have been.
So you're listening there to the former. You're listening there to what you listened to as a former Prime Minister of Australia, Julia Gillard. She was a Prime Minister of Australia from I believe it was 2010 to about 2013. She was politician, Prime Minister of Australia. Don't know what she's doing now. Didn't do the research, but in any event, she had enough. At the point, she had enough and had to speak out in Parliament about what was happening, particularly in Parliament, to women in Parliament. You see, and one of the things that she said, you can find this speech on YouTube or anywhere, because it became viral, as we say now, because women just had enough in the Australian Parliament of the vitriol that was going on. And later on in the speech, she said something about it being a drumbeat of anti-woman sentiments. And that seems to be a drumbeat that is getting louder and louder and louder. Female politicians then and even now, I remember a situation of a few years ago with Christy Freeland, the now Deputy Prime Minister here in Canada, where she actually had to run from a man who was chasing her here in Alberta. Female politicians have, and I guess will remain, a primary target for across the world for this kind of misogyny, because they're so public, they're in the public's eye. But Julia Gillard, she had enough of it in Parliament in particular. So the question is, men, why do you hate women? You know, it really seemed that way. But before we go into that, I just want to touch briefly on how do you spot a woman-hating man? Well, sometimes, to be honest, there are women who also hate other women. But let's just touch briefly on what's the meaning of the word misogyny, spelled M-I-S-O-G-Y-N-Y. And misogyny, is they say in psychology today, misogyny is typically an unconscious hatred that men form early in life, often as a result of trauma from a female figure they trusted. So misogyny is an unconscious hatred. Some might not agree with that definition, that it is unconscious, but it is a hatred forming men against women, the misogynists. And as the psychology today say, you may have heard of them, but you may not realize, what you may not realize is that they can be anywhere around you. They are notoriously hard to spot. They do not come with a label attached to them, and they may even come across as pro-woman. But that's not the truth. Misogynists do not even, sometimes misogynists do not even know that they hate women. Misogyny is typically an unconscious hatred that men form in life, in early life, often as a result of trauma from a woman. It could have been an abusive mother, a sister, a teacher, or even a girlfriend that might have planted a seed deep down in their brains. I am not a psychologist. I am not a trained, licensed psychologist. I am a trained counselor and did some psychology. And I'm here to tell you too that it's not just it can be another man, a dad, an uncle, or someone who I don't want to say brainwash, but let us use that for the time being, brainwash them into this hatred against women. So they offer some signs of who's a misogynist, and some of the things that you can look out for, although sometimes they're not noticeable, is things like a man who will zero in on a woman and choose her as his target. Her natural defenses may be down because he's flirtatious, exciting, fun, and charismatic at first. But as time goes on, he begins to reveal a Jekyll and Hyde personality. He may change quickly from irresistible to rude, and from rude back to irresistible. Funny enough, I was watching a movie a couple of days ago. It's an old movie, Kiss the Girls or something like that. It starred Morgan Freeman. I guess it's the first movie in the later on series of Alex Cross. That series, who knows that series, Alex Cross? Well, yeah. So the guy who ended up unaliving many or several women, he would kidnap them and then unalive them for whatever reason. You can go back and watch that movie. It's like 20 years old or something, but he came across as charming at first, and then over time things changed. On a date, for example, those of you who are in a dating scene, you might meet a man and he will treat a woman the opposite of how she prefers. If you, woman I'm talking to, if you're an old style lady who prefers a gentleman who holds the door for you, orders for both of you, and pays for the meal, he will treat you like one of his male buddies, order for himself, and let you pay for the whole meal if you offer, and sometimes even if she doesn't. If you're more of the independent kind of woman who prefers to order your own meal and pay for yourself, he will rudely do the opposite. He will rudely order for both of you and pay the check while you go to the bathroom. Yes, some might think that, oh, that's so cute. Not necessarily. Sexually, he likes to control, a misogynist likes to control women and gives little or no attention to your pleasure. As to foreplay, if it occurs at all, it is only a necessary means to an end. And for those of you who like to do oral, he likes it, but only as the recipient. I wonder if they're talking about Jamaican men here, because a lot of Jamaican men and Caribbean men tell you that they are not into that kind of oral business. And his favorite position, and he enables him to avoid, hear me, avoid looking into your eyes. Woman, listen here. He will cheat on you when he's dating with you or he's in a relationship with you. Monogamy is the last thing he feels he owes a woman. Those are just a few of the signs that they offer about how to spot a misogynist. So just be on the lookout for that. So anyway, let us now turn to this whole thing of why men actually don't like women, as I promised. So let me take this down and share with you some information about why men actually don't like women. Let me stop this one, and I'm going to share that with you. So I want to show you this one. Let me bring it up. And This is a little TikTok video about men not liking women, and this one came about back in 2021, where this young lady who her video about why men don't like women went viral, and patriarchy is alive and well, they say, and both men and women fall victim to it in numerous obscure way. People, I'm reading from the article, people are scratching their heads over how we still allow inequality and misuse of power to happen in our society. We do. So this TikToker who I'm about to play for you, she posted this video stating that the most eye-opening thing she learned about men is that they don't actually like women. And she explained the theory that the way our society socializes boys to become men is not to tell them how to be masculine, but rather to teach them how not to be female. So let's have a listen to that. Well, it's not playing. Let's pause that for a minute. It's not playing. And it's actually quite
The
interesting.
most eye-opening thing I ever learned about men was from my college human sexuality class, where the professor told us that men don't actually like women. Not all men, sure, but hang in. He said that the way that our society socializes boys to, quote, become men is not to tell them how to be men. It's just to teach them how to not be women. Don't cry, be a man. Don't be a pussy, be a man. Don't be weak, be a man. Don't be sensitive, be a man. Don't like those things. Those are girl things. And the tool we use to do that kind of socializing, to steer them away from feminine things, is shame. And you just can't go your whole life being told that the worst thing you could do is be like a woman and expect to actually like women at the end of that. But they are also taught that their sexual attractiveness to women and their ability to get women is a status symbol in front of other men. So they will sexually pursue women, but they don't actually like them as people. This is how patriarchal masculinity socializes men, and why shame, violence, and disgust are so intricately linked. The most eye-opening
Shame, violence, and disgust. Shame, violence, and disgust. Oh, you're watching the Daughters of Sheba Saturday morning conversations, and today we are talking about the growing misogyny among men, why men don't actually like women. My name is Claudette Esterine Campbell, and I am the chairperson and president of the Daughters of Sheba Foundation. My camera is not on because I look a mess, and I don't need to have any hate spewed at me. Please take a moment if you're just joining us and share this live. This is a very important conversation about why men actually don't like women. So please share. So as I said earlier, as our platform has grown, the most surprising thing for me, has been that the amount of men that have come onto our platform to let it be known that they really don't like us and they don't like any position that we take. The amount of men who spend the time to come in onto our platform to clearly say that they don't like female. And with all of this cisgender thing and all of that, I jump between female and woman because there are people who were not born as female, not born with our genital, who say that they're women. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about us who were born as female. So we have always and been very clear about that we are focused on female, we are focused on women, and that this is our concern. But they come, although we have said that in no uncertain term, they come to our platform and try to spread their hateful speech, their disdain for all things women. If it is known, they make it clear that in no uncertain term, on every issue that we post on our platform, save and except for the prayer. Thank God, we have morning prayer and we have evening prayer at Daughters of Sheba Foundation on Facebook. except for the prayer, for now, they have not. They are relentless. They are at least 10 men on every post who are willing to stand up for their rights and tell us how much they do not like us. And this is what we're talking about this morning, is that the vitriol that men are showing and growing showing towards women. You're watching Saturday Morning Conversations Live. And my question is, in everything that happens, there is a root cause for this. And I'm asking the question, is feminism to be blamed for that? And it's a fair question, as more and more, it seems as if that men are saying that they don't like us. And I read another article, and it was about young male and being an anti-feminist, the Gen Z boys who hate women. Gen Z are the people who were born in 1997 to 2012, so they're about 27, 29 years old now. They actually don't like women, a lot of them. And I was reading an article out of the UK, and it says half of young men in the UK now believe that feminism has gone too far and makes it harder for men to succeed. This is a result of a study published back in July of 2020 by an anti-extremism charity called Hope Not Hate. And this study looked at young people in the time of COVID-19. They were looking at 16 to 24-year-olds on their ideological belief. And they found that a growing number of experts across the fields of feminism and anti-extremism were already worried about a young male backlash against young women and their socio-political gains before the pandemic. They found that there was a troubling rise of anti-feminist sentiment among that age group. So that 16 to 24 age group. So this was 4 years ago. So these people are 28 now. The ones who are on the older spectrum. Sexism in classroom, it says, is nothing new. But the kind of distinctiveness of it being anti-feminist is something that they never saw in classroom or in their online tracking. And I don't know if some of you ever heard of incel. These are guys who it's kind of like a far right grooming thing that tell men that women don't think that they're good enough and women don't date them, and that we women believe that men are trash. That's another topic for another time. But this is something that is real, that the young men coming up seem to feel that we women don't like them, and that feminism is to be blamed. And for that reason, they're going to be nasty towards us. So let me share a video about that very topic. Just give me a second here. This has been, putting all of this together, this has been very very enlightening, because you see things on, like, as I said, I see things on our platform, but to actually do the research and realize that, hey, this is for real. I'm not just imagining this. Why is this happening? And here is one explanation. Have a watch. This one is a little longer.
Why are so many men sick of, frustrated, and hateful towards women? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's always been men hating women. I mean, just look at any incel form on the internet. But now it's like every man in the red pill, right-leaning manosphere, whatever you want to call it, straight up resents women by default. We're seeing the movement MGTOW, which is men going their own way, away from women, growing in popularity. We're seeing men reject the tradition of marriage, and many saying they will never actually get married because, for their perspective, it's a trap. And there's this weird paradox that women are getting more and more sexually open and yet the average man is getting less and less women. It's like, yes, they're open, it's just not for you. But is this shift in culture valid, or is there a lot of underlying issues that if they don't get solved could cause this epidemic to mean so much worse for men in general? I see it in my own comments, this regurgitation of the notion that the modern woman isn't worth it. You should reject all women. Porn will never let me down. But me personally, I did it before I was cool. Back in junior high, back in high school, I hated women as well. I was a skinny gamer, I was a nerd, and in a school that glorified football, I knew a little too much about computers. And I'm noticing that my female classmates tend to gravitate more towards the popular football players, basketball players, the confident guys, the guys who they hit puberty a little better than me, so they got a little more muscle going on, and the malice grew. Because surely it's not something wrong with me. It's something wrong with that entire gender. They are just shallow. They are hoes. But my perspective began to shift once I got into the gym and got this new surface level confidence because I was finally working on myself, and it was the first masculine act I've ever done in my life, really. But even then, I had my qualms. You see, I was always good at pattern recognition with people. And I think this is the entry level to hating women. You just start to notice all the double standards in the world. Why do they seemingly get all this special treatment by default, whereas I feel like I have to earn every crumb of it? And you just start to notice the differences. And instead of understanding that's just inherently how the world works and embracing the differences and seeing the beauty in both sides, we resent it. It's not fair. I got a penis. And then you pair this with the lack of attention and sexual validation from the girls, and it just makes it way worse. I think this is kind of the entry level to a lot of these surface level red pill takes. I did all the right things and they don't fuck me. But if you spend enough time in the real world, these illusions kind of dispel themselves, especially when you meet a lot of good girls and realize, oh, there's a lot of nice ladies out there. At least that was the case before the internet. It's kind of like if you were to go on Twitter a few years ago, you would think everyone's a far left extremist. Yet if you were to go onto Twitter now, you would think everyone's a far right extremist. You know, guys will watch Fresh and Fit, and instead of seeing it as entertainment and understand the certain demographics of women they bring on, they think, all women are like these Miami bitches? They don't need no man because they make $100K on OnlyFans? We have this endless flow of videos like the street interviews where they interview women and they just say the most degenerate, low intellect things. Or maybe they find this couple they've been together 10 years and like swap phones, and the guy's like, oh, why are you texting Antonio from work? And then you have all these TikToks and shorts of women being like, all men are trash, we don't need men. I mean, even The View had a segment about how they hate men, but granted, those bitches are retarded. So it makes perfect sense for a man whose perspective has been built by this content to think, well, they hate me, then I hate them. But we can't forget about the most glaring issue that drastically warped my perspective and is warping the perspective of the majority of men on the planet: pornography, where you're literally programming your brain with endless hours of women degrading themselves, being overly promiscuous, having multiple partners. And nowadays, it's like every female Twitch streamer or e-girl also happens to sell their body. It's just fun.
I pause there because that is an important point. The role of pornography, and not just pornography, the role of how women are today and for the last many years been presenting themselves. You know, all of the nudity. I mean, listen, I am not saying that a woman doesn't have the right to dress how she wants to dress. I am not saying that a woman doesn't have the right to be sexy and all of that. That's not the point. The point is, have we gone overboard? And you know, has it become pornography walking down the street? Let's continue to listen to what he has to say.
Funny, the men who can't get girls are literally addicted to girls. They're just pixelated and on the screen. And there are valid reasons for men to be a little upset, you know? You turn on the radio and it's a female rapper being like, my coochie pink, he put me on the couch, he put me on the floor, he put me in the house, he put me outside, he put me in the garage, I put it in my butt, I'm Nicki Minaj. That was off the top, dude. I'm in the wrong industry. Around 60% of young men are single compared to only 34% of the women. So the guys are just watching these older, more successful guys that literally take the girls out of their dating pool. And overall hypergamy and short-term relationships has become rampant due to social media, as well as cheating due to social media. A couple decades ago, your wife couldn't check her phone and be like, oh wow, this guy's DMing me. This guy's DMing me. This guy wants to send me to Bali. Oh, look at all these girls that just got sent to Dubai. Plus, nowadays, if you're married in the West, they're literally financially incentivized to leave you. Imagine if the roles were reversed and you knew as a man that you could just go and post a couple gym selfies on the Instagram and super rich, beautiful.
So are more men growing? Is it increasing? Are men actually not liking women? So the psychology today says some men are becoming more and more hostile towards women. And you know, we see it. I see it daily on our platform. You know, it has become exponentially worse in past weeks. You know, which caused me, Claudette Estherine Campbell, the president and chairperson of the Daughters of Sheba Foundation, based here in Canada, to wonder about this topic. And this is why we're having this conversation this morning. And, you know, like I said, the experts are saying some men are becoming less generous towards their female colleague. You know, there's this concept of moral licensing. Moral licensing is and I don't know if most of you read that book called Blink, and author Malcolm Gladwell suspects that many men are in the grip of what behavioral scientists call moral licensing, which he explains is when a favored majority group performs an act of generosity towards an outsider. It doesn't necessarily signal that more acts of generosity are coming. Sometimes it's just to give them license to then go back to their old ways. So they're nice to you, but it doesn't mean it's going to be always. They're going to be always nice towards you. So maybe change does not beget more change. Generosity does not become more generous. Maybe the opposite is occurring. Some psychologists are thinking that the progress women have made is permanently reshaping our social ecology. But what really may be happening is that women are being told by some men, we gave you all this stuff, but enough is enough. Time to go back to the way it used to be. And I see that on our platform, you know, literally men telling women, me, all of us, to go back to the kitchen. Well, not me to go, I'm barefoot and pregnant. Well, not me, I'm almost 60 years of age. But this is what is happening. This is what is happening. The men no longer, recently we posted something about a woman was giving advice about not allowing a man to move into your home. And you should see the things that men had to say. Oh, finally, you guys are feeling what men have. You guys set up society the way it is today. So because we have decided that enough is enough in terms of the way you're treating us, you're telling us that we must shut up, put up or shut up, just take it or shut up about it, you know, because you guys have been doing it for however long. One organization called this, what we're seeing, male supremacy. White supremacy, they're calling it male supremacy, and it has become impossible to ignore. And they have been monitoring male supremacist hate groups because their misogynistic belief is so depressingly familiar and widespread, and have hardened into a more distinct force in recent years, and have been fueled, unfortunately to say, by the election of Donald Trump a few years ago and the resurrection of the white supremacist groups in the American political life. But, you know, in all fairness, this is not just an American thing. It is happening. It has always happened in other cultures, but, you know, people across the world seem to be thinking that the only purpose a woman serve, still thinking that the only purpose a woman serve is to have babies and for male satisfaction. So let us, to wrap this up, let us just have a final look to see if this is all about the access to our bodies, because we saw with the overturn of Roe v. Wade, and this is spreading across the world, where people, every step is possible to being taken to put women back in the kitchen, to put women back in barefoot and pregnant status. And just as I wrap this up this morning, and I really would like you to comment, leave a comment, and let us have this conversation. and the question is that I'm going to close on is, are we seeing a gender war? Is there a gender war going on? Let us hear what this young lady has to say towards that. And before we go, and I would really, really, really want to see what you have to say in our comments, in the comment section. So let me play this young lady's video and we will wrap this up. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So she's asking the question, is the gender wars ending marriage and relationships everywhere? So like I said, this is not just a North American thing. It's a question for the entire world. Let's play.
The last thing that I want to discuss is the gender wars, which is probably the root of a lot of these issues, the root of the tension between men and women. So we're seeing that women are becoming more progressive and they're finding a lot of solace in progressive ideologies, whereas men are becoming more conservative and they're finding their solace in conservative ideologies and in the likes of Jordan Peterson's and Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fit and Kevin Samuels. And this ideology is giving them the comfort that they need in this society. We saw what a huge movement the Me Too movement became. And this is when we really saw the beginning of this gender wars begin to happen. Since 2014, women between the ages of 18 and 29 have steadily become more liberal each year, and young men have not. A Gen Z female is more likely than their male counterpart to vote, care about political issues, and participate in social movements and protests. As a result of this Me Too movement and women becoming more progressive and open-minded, a lot of men are feeling as though society is turning against them. And whereas only 1/3 of men would have said they face discrimination, now half of men cite that they feel as though they are discriminated against. The movement of men into alignment with these red pill ideologies, the Andrew Tates and the Kevin Samuels of the world. This is where they are being affirmed that their masculinity is okay and it's okay to be a man. And these men are struggling. They're struggling more in school. They're less likely than women to graduate from college. They have fewer close friends than previous generations, and they're 4 times as likely to commit suicide than women. So men are very much struggling in modern society because of all the changes that are happening. Women raising their standards and the 4B movement and just all these things that are happening worldwide is an effect of the oppression that women have gone through in the past. In some sense, it's justified, but
So are we seeing a gender WAR? Are we experiencing a gender war? And to be honest, I think we are at least seeing some battles, and it's if we don't do something, if we don't come to some kind of understanding, some meeting ground somewhere in the middle between us, it will be a full blown out war, and that is going to be very sad. We see, as I spoke about last week, Saturday morning, you can go back and listen to and watch that presentation, that live conversation about the 4B movement. This is the latest proliferation of the women's movement. As she said in the video, and as I said last week, the Me Too movement was one prior to this, and now we have the 4B movement. What next? What next in terms of the women's movement? What next in terms of our man-woman relationship, male-female relationship? Where do we go from here? How do we solve this? How does this end? And that is the question I'm leaving with you this morning. Please take a minute and share this live and speak with me, share with me, talk with us, and let us find common ground. As for the men who come to our platform, don't just come and be rude and leave your nasty comments. I want you to comment. I want us to have a civil conversation on our platform. It's one of several places that can happen. It's one of the few places where we're actually having intelligent conversations. I'm not somebody who like doing lives just for the sake of doing a live. We're not here to earn money from Facebook. If we get a penny or two, that's fine, but this is not our purpose here. Our purpose here is to educate, empower, inform, and provide insightful information. So I do hope that you found this morning's presentation, this morning's live, insightful. I really look forward to hearing from you in the comments and to answer the closing question: are we on the verge of a gender war? And that's a very important question. I would love to hear your answer to. So thank you for being with me this morning. Thank you for having this conversation with me. Look forward to hearing more from you and catch you next week, Saturday morning at the same time. I am out of here and talk to you during the course of the week. Bye.